This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover this because I try to watch the stuff that gets put out from the World Economic Forum on their website, on their Instagram account, on their Twitter account. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be watching that stuff for obvious reasons. Nobody wants to make themselves sick every day looking at the agendas that are being pushed. But one of the things I just saw them release, I wanted to share with everybody because it shows you what their plan is for the children out there. And we can look at the metaverse and we can laugh at these things now and say that that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion. But if you're paying attention, this is how they condition everybody into this stuff. It starts off looking like a ridiculous notion. It starts off looking like, oh, it's not even really realistic, right? Think about the cell phone. Think about the first phone. I keep saying the Zach Morris flip phone from Saved by the Bell, right? All right, think about the first phones in around 2000, the flip phone. Think about what that looks like now to people who have iPhones and Samsungs, these fancy phones where they could watch things in 4K. Think about the difference between, you used to have to text, you have to press the button 3-4 times just to get the letter out. Think about now with the touch screen. Okay, so you could look back and say that that's, oh my gosh, that's all ridiculous. That's all caveman-like technology. Well, that's the point. They condition you into it. And the way the metaverse looks now is nothing like it's going to look like. But they already have the technology in place. They're just not releasing it to you yet, showing you how realistic this stuff is going to live. And at the same time, they're starting to indoctrinate people with the metaverse and virtual reality and the Apple lenses. They're also beginning to destroy everything on the outside. Don't forget that part of the infrastructure, the AI infrastructure the World Economic Forum talks about, is schooling being gone. So we'll look at all the stuff that's going on out there. And when I say schooling being gone, I mean schooling as we know it, right? Now, that's a good thing in a sense because it's just an institution where you learn nothing but lies. But the whole notion of school, getting on the bus, all that stuff is eliminated, okay? And they've been doing that in subtle ways to get you on board with it. They've been doing it in ways where people are afraid to send their kids to school because somebody might show up there with a bang bang. They've been doing it in ways where they're telling you that they're going to put this curriculum in there and conservatives go, I'm not sending my kid to school. Or in fact, having people show up at their libraries who are tucking their ding-a-ling between their legs and reading stories to your children, okay? They're making people not want to go to the go to the schools, but they want to build a new infrastructure. So think about what just occurred, right? We started seeing the transition into a digital realm. That was part of what the outbreak was used for. Everybody now knows what Zoom is. Nobody knew what Zoom was in 2020. Nobody was really using FaceTime in 2020. Now you see grandmas using it. Now everybody's comfortable with using it. Now they're going, I don't really need, I got a runny nose. I'm not going to go to my granddaughter's graduation. I'll just have FaceTime in. That's the point, the transition into the digital. So I want to play for you this video that was on the World Economic Forum's website. And it's sick because it shows you how they're targeting kids and they want to start making, and they already have the ability, remember, but they want to start slowly releasing virtual reality avatars to make them look more realistic. This is also part of the plan. When we talk about depopulation, we also are talking about, think about these younger generations. They're not going to be dating. Most of these people can't talk to one another, and they've made it so people are afraid to speak to one another. Afraid, like, oh, if you hit on a girl, it's harassment, right? They're doing this by design. This is part of it. Dating in the virtual realm. All of this stuff that sounds crazy. Listen to what their plan is for the children because it's all about the children. We as adults look at this stuff and we're like, that's embarrassing. We're not going to be on board with that. Even though a lot of adults, I told you in recent videos, say the same thing to me about Facebook. I still say how embarrassing it is. And the same people who are on board with me who are like, oh my gosh, who's doing that? That's ridiculous. Back in 2000, or whatever year it came out, 2001, 2002, around that time period, the same people who were embarrassed then are now posting their thoughts and putting their conscience up on the internet, which is the point. They call it the collective. It's really just the collective hive mind. And none of these people even realize how they transitioned from that to what they are now. It's the same with this. So look how frightening this is and look how sick they are because they're specifically talking about targeting children, even the future of sporting events. These are all things that they have planned. And this is going to work. You know why? Because everything out on the outside, they're trying to destroy. So just the little things we see now with direct energy weapons and weaponized weather, they're going to continue to do that. But don't forget, the carbon footprint is to keep you indoors. The carbon footprint, the purpose of it is to keep you a prisoner in your home. And you're eventually going to be a prisoner of your mind. So as crazy as it all sounds, the carbon footprint tracks and monitors your every movement. They're going to tell you that you have an allotted time. You can go outside, a lot of time you can do this, but you don't need to worry about it because they'll deliver food to your door. Everything you need can be delivered with a drone. You don't really need to go outside. Oh, you don't need exercise. You can exercise in the virtual realm, right? Some of that ridiculous stuff we've seen where a lot of these virtual reality companies give you exercise tutorials with the thing on. I mean, it's unbelievable. But look at what they're trying to do. This is what's next for children that they're targeting.
The great challenge with virtual environments is that the only reason we're there is for the other people that we find. The technology, both the hardware and the software, has to be good enough to make us feel like we're really there with someone else. Avatars look good in a still shot or maybe in a video demo, but when you try it out yourself, you don't really feel like you're making quite the connection with the other person or people that you'd like to. The biggest thing that is going to make metaverses finally begin to have global impact is going to be the true sense of other people there in a way that is satisfying to most of us. Building trust and making people comfortable with avatars is more dependent, surprisingly enough, not on the graphical detail of the avatars, but instead on how they move, how they communicate non-verbally. When we communicate with each other in the real world, a tremendous amount of the information that we're sharing with each other is non-verbal. Unfortunately, in virtual environments thus far, it has been impossible to convey most of that non-verbal signaling. And now for some people, that's okay. They're okay with not getting that data. But for a lot of people, it's a very, very important part of building trust with someone else, particularly if that someone else is a stranger. I think that movement and nonverbal cues are going to be what makes avatars feel ready for all of us wanting to use them. AI, in some ways, can be used to help a computer to better understand what nonverbal cues you're trying to give to somebody else. And so, for example, we may, in the next few years, be able to use a combination of visual information from cameras and information gotten additionally from AIs, helping us look at those cameras to do a better job of making our avatars show the emotions that we're showing as we sit in front of our computers. And I do think that that'll happen in the next few years, more so on screens than with VR devices. VR devices are a little bit harder. I think it's going to be more than 5 years, for example, before those devices are worth using.
This actually weirdly feels like a hug.
I also think that specific areas of use like education for kids are probably areas where VR devices will start to really deliver some widespread use and payoff. We're in this kind of local maximum right now where we're playing video games and we're talking about the future and imagining that someday the avatars in the video games might be suitable for going to a sporting event or a music event or something, and we're not there yet. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to find a single initial use case that everybody wants to try out and use at least a little bit and get some benefit out of. I think that use case is still likely to be education. I don't know whether earlier education or collegiate education, but the idea of getting students together, communicating with each other while learning from a teacher as avatars has such an immense human opportunity for us. You know, the ability to put a group of students together with a great teacher who's halfway around the world is just a phenomenal opportunity. So I think that that kind of opportunity, that kind of breakthrough application and the hardware that's required to get us there, once we have that, we'll really see everything coming together.
And again, they're targeting children specifically. And don't forget, a lot of the communist propaganda I put out, which, you know, when I think about it, a lot of strikes, even though I'm a brand new YouTuber, a lot of strikes I've gotten have actually been showing a lot of those black and white films from the 50s and 60s that they would show back in the 50s and 60s in school about how dangerous and how bad communism is. They don't want you to see that now. And it's not because it's, it's what they're fearful of is if you notice what communism is, you'll realize that it's really woke in disguise. It's just a new name. They repackaged communism so that generations of older Democrats wouldn't even realize that they're now communists because they were trained and taught as children that communism was bad, that capitalism was good. And the reason that they're targeting children, of course, is because that's the future of this new world order. You could see, and to me, when I see that clip that I showed you, it's a horror story. The guy speaking about the benefits is, he should be arrested. I mean, what they're doing is not for the benefit of anyone. In fact, they should put a side by side of this and then talk about why kids are so depressed, why kids are so suicidal, why people have so much anxiety. Now, yes, we could look at anxiety and depression and tie it in with 5G and chemtrailing, but really it's what they're doing of separating people from one another. Okay, and they're the ones strategically doing this. They're making people hate one another. They're dividing people on politics. They're making it so Democrats and Republicans can't even be friends anymore. And this affects the children out there as well. And a lot of their parents are so unhinged, especially the Democratic parents, they're pushing their kids into this thinking that this is the future of learning and this is what's safer for them because they're afraid to send their kids to school because the government's creating false flags at the school. But this is better and this is safer and they'll be so much smarter. Next thing you know, they're dating one of these avatars and they'll tell you that that's perfectly normal. And if I said that 3 years ago, you say that's completely insane. Right? A person dating an avatar. It's already happening. And now the way things are going, people are actually seeing that. And they're like, oh, yeah. But they're going, well, what's really wrong with that? It might be better for my kid to date an avatar. That's how utterly insane this is. And the mental health that people are suffering from, a lot of it, if not all of it, other than you can look at the frequencies and those things, is coming from the technology, the dependency on technology, the obsession with technology. And really what they're creating are they're telling you that these kids are becoming so smart with tech, they're becoming completely useless. Human beings who don't have trades, who don't know how to do things on their own are useless. And that's what they want. They want every single thing you do to need to, the answer have to come from the internet or technology. Okay, because that gives them total control and carte blanche over you. And when you're connected to the internet, you won't have to type it in the Google search. It'll come into your mind like telepathy. And then you'll say, oh, wow, look, I'm so smart. I'm all of a sudden, these things are popping into my head and who needs to be, this is great. And now we're all equal because we all have this technology embedded inside of our body. But what I fear the most is for the children out there. And when I see clips like this, it gets me so angry and it's disgusting. Philip Rosedale, the co-founder of High Fidelity, these are the guys that go to the World Economic Forum that you don't see, that you don't hear about, who are the ones who are really just being enabled to do these things without civilians out there even knowing what they're doing. Most civilians would see us and they'd be like, I don't want my kid to be raised like this. Who's this guy? Who's making the curriculum that they're going to learn when they're online and they're doing online learning, right? Who are these things that they're talking to? Just friendly avatars? Oh, they could reach a teacher from around the world. Who's the teacher? Who are these people? They don't know, right? Because they keep you distracted with all the other crap that they keep manufacturing on the surface here. So remember the stuff I talked about here with what they're trying to do to the surface, because people out there are going to think it's climate change. They're the ones who are doing this stuff. They're weaponizing weather right now. We see this tornado, just this ongoing onslaught of tornadoes in the same spots in in North America, right in the central, in Iowa, Oklahoma, and people out there are desensitized to it. They're like, oh yeah, they always get tornadoes in Oklahoma. Oh yeah, they get 60 at once? No, they don't. They don't even want you to pay attention to that. And then when you do bring attention to it, they say, well, the climate, we got to do something about the climate. That's the only way we'll stop the tornadoes. And the answer to the climate change, the ultimate answer that they don't tell you is that you're going to be locked up, okay? Because once you have a carbon footprint, you aren't going to school, you aren't going to the grocery, but they already have the solution. They're going to say, well, what do you need to go to the grocery for? Haven't you seen that you can get groceries on Amazon? Haven't you seen that ShopRite and Ralph's deliver the grocery right to your home? And people go, oh, right, what do I need to go for? It's easier for you. It's better. And like, yeah. And then they're like, look at the world around us. Everybody's fighting and angry. But inside of the virtual realm, you could be whoever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do, right? You could date whoever you want to date. And they're making things so bad on the surface here, and I say the surface, in the real world, which is really simulated at this point, but they're making things so bad by design that they want the youth to turn to the technology. They know a lot of adults won't. Yes, there will be a percentage that do, libs, who will turn to, I shouldn't say that, it's both parties. I'm sure you see a lot of comments. When I cover video games, a lot of people who follow my channel get upset. Like, why are you attacking me? I like to get home from work and play video games and things like that. I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm trying to tell you what they're doing, why this type of technology exists. They want you embedded in all these things, okay? And then they want you to pass it down to your kids. They want you to play Call of Duty with your kids, right? And you might say, well, I didn't turn out so bad. Well, the games continue to evolve. Think about where they've gone from Atari to where the games are now and the stuff people do in Grand Theft Auto and these other games, okay? Technology is the enemy to humanity. Let's just be real about it. The Amish are living perfectly fine without it, and we all probably are making fun of them. You know, I remember when I first saw Amish people for the first time, I didn't even understand what was going on. I'm like, why are I'm a Christian. What I believe in Christ. What's the why don't they want to? They don't want to make life so difficult on themselves that they don't have electricity. Well, now you realize that when the grid and all these things happen and everything goes down, these people will be completely unfazed by it. The rest of us, we've been inundated with this system, and that's the problem. It's hard to separate once you're inundated in it, okay? But this type of stuff you need to see now and know now and stay away from it. Keep your kids away from it, okay? This is being done deliberately, and it's a solution to a problem that they're creating. They want your kids in the virtual realm. Remember, spiritual, virtual realm. And they're going to make things so bad here, whether it's, making the school systems shut down because parents don't want to send their kids to school because of all the curriculum they're all doing that stuff by design. They're sabotaging it. They're changing the whole infrastructure, which includes the schooling system. And we're already at a point where people don't want to send their kids to school anyway. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because the institution itself is rotten at the core. It's a total waste of time. Nobody goes through the school system and learns anything of importance. The people who brag about what they learned in this, look, I went to college. I got a degree in college, okay? Useless. You don't learn any trades. You got to teach yourself the trades these days. And most people out there, look, if you went to trade school, good for you. You definitely learned something then. But if you went to a university for just a basic business degree or communications degree, how's that serving you? You might have a job that's paying you, but in reality, when the grid goes off, is it going to serve you any purpose then? Are you going to know how to forage? Are you going to know how to hunt? Are you going to know how to... All these things that they tell you are useless in today's world. Yeah, they're useless with technology existing, but when they shut it down for a while, you're going to be more dependent and want technology more to save you from it. And that's what their plan is. So this is the hell that they have planned for your kids, okay? This reality with these things strapped over your heads. And every day that goes by, people get more desensitized to this. It looks bizarre. It looks creepy. That's how we all felt when we first saw it. Now people are like, oh yeah, it's normal. It's normal. And it's getting more and more normal. And eventually it ends up inside your body because the stuff you see with the virtual reality glasses, when you have the tech inside of you, you'll see it in front of your face. Okay, that's what we're headed towards next. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.